So, hello everybody. My name is Neza Posnjak, and I will be presenting Dam Removal Europe on behalf of World Fish Migration Foundation, and I'll explain the details. But sometimes I'll do a video for the beginning. Removal of the riverine barriers. That's how it really looks like. The uncomfortable to wake you up. So yeah, Dam Removal Europe is actually a coalition of 7 partner organizations in Europe. And those are the Nature Conservancy, WWF, World Fish Migration Foundation, European River Network, the River Trust from UK, Wetlands International, and Rewilding Europe. So as you can see, a lot of strong partners, and we really aim to bring dam removal into, let's say, a big discussion and to scale it up. So yeah, how to recover healthy and resilient rivers. And I want to show you that it's already happening all around Europe. I'm going to use this. Yeah. So World Fish Migration Foundation was funded in 2014. And it's, let's say, our goal is to connect people with rivers and fish, nevertheless, because we've forgotten how much, our rivers were full of fish, especially me coming from continental Europe, from the central part where we've lost all the big rivers and we've also lost all the big fish. So we don't see this as a resource providing us food. So yeah, we would like to see rivers full of fish again. Every 2 years, we organize a global World Fish Migration Day. This year, it was a little bit less than 500 events all around the globe. And really connecting people with rivers, organizing all sorts of events to bring the important topic onto the discussion table. And yeah, Jeremy Wade is one of our ambassadors. Yeah, you probably know him, River Monsters. Yeah, and every now and then we also produce a book. This one's very thick and I have it there, so I'll pass it around later. So the Sea to Source Protection and Restoration of Fish Migration in Rivers Worldwide. It's a nice collection of measures that can be taken, good examples, and so on. So there's one copy that you can see. Yeah, so, and to connect a little bit of my story into this. So I come from the Balkans, from the small country of Slovenia. Some of you know Croatia. I heard that it's a popular destination to go for a seaside. And on the Balkans, we still have these beautiful rivers, more or less pristine, let's say. We also have hydropower, of course. And one of my first jobs was with the Save the Blue Heart of Europe campaign. And we were always showing this map, like how blue is the most pristine rivers, then green is near natural, then slightly modified orange. And we were showing, look, compared to the rest of the Europe, this is the map. So here is the blue heart. And then we organized all sorts of events. This one was very, let's say, loud Balkan Rivers tour to really spotlight these rivers and the jewels that there are. And yeah, we've created all these banners. And with this one, this picture was made and then made it to all the newspapers around Europe. So we really put the spotlight on this. And then life happened. I moved to Germany, where the map looks like this. So there's no blue, there's all red, yellow, and orange. And at some point, me preserving all those beautiful rivers run out of business. So what do we do? So there's nothing to protect. Let's then restore the rest. And that's how I joined the Dam Removal Europe. Yeah, so all the barriers, why is the status so bad of our rivers? There is an estimated, there is 1.2 million barriers blocking European rivers. So that's like a lot of small heart attacks to our riverine system. So yeah, sounds really a lot. And you look at the map, I mean, it's really, really dense. So let's say every couple of kilometers we have a barrier. How do we know that we have that many barriers? So a couple of years ago, there was a research project called Amber, and they were really looking into databases about the barriers. And even though there were like, 630,000 records compliant within the project, the estimate is much, much higher, because very often we don't really have the inventory of all the barriers. Because I speak with dams, so let's maybe step back. So I'm very often talking about dams, but what I really mean is also culverts, is also forts, sluices, weirs, I don't know, pumping station, dikes, so everything that blocks the migration for fish. And yeah, it's really a lot of this, and very often we don't really have a registry of all the culverts, for example, the river dams. But those do block migration as well. So that's like, think of the scale of this problem. Very often, you know, when I tell them, well, I've moved to Germany, I've left my old job, people ask me, what do you do now? And when I tell them I work with the Dam Removal Europe, they ask me like, wait, you do what? What does it mean? There's always this question. And they instantly imagine the biggest hydropower dam in their vicinity and think of, how is that going to go down? I mean, do you really? How many of those are removed? But then again, we need to remember there is 1.2 million are also the very small infrastructure that is not in use anymore. It's obsolete. So that's really the barriers we are focusing on. Yeah, and how we still track barriers around Europe. Within Amber, there was an application developed where everyone can download it right now. And what it makes, it basically, you take a photo, it tracks the location where the dam is, you try to estimate whether it's in use or not, which for everyday people is sometimes hard, and I I have troubles myself very often. Yeah, so we keep this database growing, and yeah, maybe you've heard about our campaign this summer, really encouraging people who go to the rivers during their summer holidays to track the barriers, and we might find even more of those. So this is the poster in Norwegian. We've prepared it for you, so it's on our Dam Removal Europe website. You can still download it and work with it if you want. That doesn't have a date or anything, so go ahead and use it. But then the question, why do we want to remove all these dams? So migratory fish in rivers are under pressure. We know we've lost a lot of big fish. So, for example, huho is the river, the fish that I was hoping to bring back. You know, it used to be this really big fish, and and fishermen were, it was a food source. But now in the big rivers in Europe, it's gone. So really, fish stocks have dropped drastically. We are losing freshwater system, and it's not just about the pollution, because the chemical status is usually going up, while the decline in the species is still happening. So it really has to do something with the connectivity of the habitat and the resilience of the habitats. Even though a lot of fish can jump over certain barriers or certain heights of the barrier, very often those are too high and fish is banging their head, and sometimes, very often they don't make it to the final destination to spawn and to reproduce and to continue their line. So yeah, that's one. But it's fish as a representative. There's a lot of other aquatic species that cannot make it upstream, although they need to. Drowning rivers, you know, a big discussion about this, whether this is saving us from the droughts or is making it worse. Then is it hydropower saving the climate, or are those accumulation lakes producing more methane? So really, we need to question this infrastructure. which ones do we still use, which one are bringing us harm, which one might be even a danger to us, because a lot of infrastructure in Europe is also very old, and if it's not maintained, it might fail, and it might cause flooding and pose a threat to human life. So yeah, the solution is dam removal, and I mean complete dam removal. So I believe that this is the, let's say, the measure with which you bring back actually the free-flowing element. So it's not just the up and downstream connectivity for the species, but it is also the sediment transportation. So that's really important. Very often, we go with the fish ladders, but we only solve one part of the problem. So bringing this free-flow element back is also very important. So do we have a lot of work? Of course. I mean, with more than 150,000 obsolete old barriers, those ones that can fail us, yeah, we do have a lot of work. Maybe think of one or two that could go down in your vicinity. A lot of opportunities, as I said. I mean, there are also some old hydropower sites, and there are also old infrastructure, old weirs. For example, I know a very good case in Slovenia where the valley was drained because they wanted to have more farmland, but this infrastructure now is not in use anymore. They are facing drought, but they don't think of removing all those small dikes along the way that was draining the area. So they're really rethinking the infrastructure in rivers. Yeah, and bringing back to hydropower, although we are talking also about other forms, in Finland they've developed a calculator where the hydropower company can actually go through the elements of how much they would need to invest and how much to maintain it, and how much money they get from it, so they can calculate the point in time when it's better to remove the hydropower station than to rebuild it and to make it more environmentally friendly with all the measures. So where is this economic point when the infrastructure can go out and it makes sense to take it out? So yeah, I can provide you the link to that if you are interested. So also the industry, the hydropower industry. There was a comment not long ago from them, and it was, well, use it or lose it. So either we use the infrastructure we have, or it needs to go out. So that, I think, it's really important message. So yeah, right now it's a unique momentum for dam removal. It's a growing movement, and there's a debate on a new biodiversity policy in European Union. There's a goal of bringing back 25,000 kilometers of free-flowing rivers, mainly by removing barriers. So it's a very ambitious goal, and let's hope that that the measures will be in place in all the countries, and that it's going to be binding, and we'll see some improvements. So yeah, growing movement. We have a lot of organizations supporting us, promoting dam removal in their work, and yeah, we provide them with the inputs, promotion, organizing events, and so on. So if you have an organization that would like to join us, please let's talk about it during the coffee break. Every now and then we produce some papers as well, so that people have something to read. Like a little bit of a dam removal viable solution for the future. We've prepared a strategy, which is basically scale up dam removal in Europe. So how, from those couple of cases that we have right now, how to make it systematic, so that the dam removal is a river restoration measure. So you think of it just like you think of it as I don't know, making a fish pass. So it's like equally assessed as one of the options. This case is really inspiring to me, and if you don't know it, then let's have a minute to talk about it. So this is Hitolanjoki River in southeastern part of Finland, in South Karelia region. What is special about it is that it's a home to landlocked salmon, very endangered species, and there were 3 operational hydropower stations. They've calculated that they don't bring much money, but that the angling industry and tourism could bring the equal of it. So they've decided to preserve the species, to remove the hydropower plants, and to restore the river. And what happened? Tourism also went up. I mean, they are anglers, so that's a fair point. They knew that there's an interest for it. But there are also buses of people coming to this place to just see how it looks like now when the river is free-flowing again. And very soon after the first removal, they spotted 5 nests of salmon upstream the dam. And this past August, the second dam was removed. And next year, they plan for a third removal, meaning that very soon, the entire river course will be free-flowing. It's really a case when everything was assessed, like what brings us the most benefits, also financially and not just for the fish. This is, I don't want to say extreme case, but it's extraordinary case. Usually we are removing culverts and weirs and things like that. Up. Yeah, so the strategy is to build a movement of proud practitioners and enable them to remove dams, meaning providing the knowledge, providing a good cases, providing inspirational stories, because sometimes those processes are really long and you need to be again and again inspired so you can keep going. Every year we have a conference. We'll come to that as well. Yeah, that's who we are.
Hello, from Articuza, north of Spain. We have here the dam that hasn't been used for the last 30 years. So 3 years ago, we emptied the reservoir and nature is doing its work. So now my colleagues and I, we are fighting to get the budget and all the paperwork done to restore the connectivity of the river. Aur!
Aur! Aur!
Yeah, happy practitioners, they made it. The dam is going down. Creating the big shift, how it's going to happen, how to mainstream the barrier removals. So we have a growing international network. We have every year 1 to 2 fully booked seminars all around Europe. This year we were in Lisbon, for example. We held a lot of presentations. So today I have 2. As I said, we have 7 partners. We have a database with over 5,000 records. We check them all, so we have a lot of case studies, policy changes that we are trying to make in certain countries, crowdfunding. So if you have a dam but you don't have a budget, we can help with that. And our website with showcase projects, really worth visiting. And then, quickly, we go through a couple of cases. So Lithuania, only in 3 years, they managed to get to the point where they have 1 person at the Ministry of Environment dealing just with dam removals. It started with a very small weir in the middle of a forest, not really worth mentioning, obsolete, but they removed it. And then the second was removed last year. And yeah, as I said, now they also have a person at the ministry who's really dealing with this obsolete infrastructure. Boston Weir, you still see it here, but now it's gone. In the UK, they remove a lot of dams. This one went down in July this year. Very active brown trout restoration projects. Then in Germany, not as many as we would hope for, but it's also happening. Removals. This one was happened just after a Dam Removal Europe seminar in 2021. The seminar was Dam Removal Goes Alps. So we talked about the challenges in the Alpine region. Estonia, a big river, not a small weir, quite a big dam at Parno. Big restoration project, so you have all the ranges, let's say. And this one is especially there to me because they used the European funds to remove it. So with a little bit of creativity, they managed to, even though the finance mechanisms were not there yet, they managed to find a way. And the river is restored. They're very happy with the results, so very positive. And then to France, they're front runners in the removals. So these are two dams on the Sélune River in Normandy. You probably know the Bay Mont Saint-Michel with the castle and the island. The big dam went down, the river was restored. There's a 10-year-long research project to really see how the river and the whole system will recover. You know, that was all underwater. And now it's coming, it came back. So the last one was removed in June this year. And they not long, in 2 weeks or even less, they found a salmon upstream the second dam. They tracked them with the in the spring, and after the removal, they've already seen the first one passing the barrier. Although the dam was not completely removed, but it managed to find a way upstream when the dam was gone. So this one, that's the second dam, and it's gone. It was demolished. It's not there anymore. Denmark, they remove a lot of dams, but they don't really communicate it. And similar cases also Austria. In last 10 years, they removed 300 dams, but they don't really talk about it because, it's a nation of small hydropower. So it's really hard to bring these topics into the discussion. In Spain, they have a law to take out all the old infrastructure. You know, sometimes people are really surprised that Spain is really active in removing dams because people think, oh, but they need them to mitigate drought. But it's not always the case. The drought can be worsened if you have the barriers are not really in function, but you don't get the water downstream. It's a complex problem. So Sweden has a new hydropower strategy with a really big fund to remove dams. Finland we've mentioned. So a lot of inspiring cases. And what we need to do is to publish all these inspiring cases so people know that it is happening and get inspired by it. But this is the part where you're really good at already. So you had this article in The Guardian just this past January. Be proud. And also, this is the part the exciting part, usually dams don't go out with the explosion, but this one was more of a Scenic. So if you can see, you're kind of surrounded with the countries that are front runners in the dam removal. So quote from Portugal from this seminar was, dam removal is not the mental agenda yet. This might be the case, or maybe you just need to start somewhere. And scaling up country by country would mean that you would identify potential change makers. Who is there? Someone in the environmental agency? Is there someone at the ministry? Is there someone on the municipality? Or is there just an angler who's passionate about removing dam on the rivers they like to fish? And really upscaling examples. We have 2 areas where we would like to focus, and we see the potential. So every year we produce this progress report with all the dams that we can verify that were removed last year. So in 2021, there was 239 cases that we could verify, but so we missed 100 cases from Finland. We don't know about Denmark because they don't take the record. So it's probably at least around 500. And let's share resources. We can really facilitate the process of scaling up in a country. We have help desk, community of practice, and be a Dambuster. We are producing a book on how to do it, coming out very soon. really scoping studies, how to plan, how to design, construction removals, because not every dam goes out the same way. So really like a guidelines how to start. And you can start. You can all start just by reading this book. So remove dams and create showcases. There is also granting opportunity for this, and it's also open. I mean, it's open for wider Europe, so you can apply. The next call for expression of interest starts in only 32 days. So if you have an idea, you can write it down, submit, and you get a chance to get funded for your project. So there are 24 million euros to demolish riverine barriers. So that's the opportunity to grab. And then some of our partners are really working a lot on development of the funding models that will keep the ball rolling. And Rewilding Europe is really looking into revolving funds, how to roll the money, to reuse it again, to remove more and more barriers. And then you have a movement. And every year we praise the movement, and the most successful projects are highlighted and awarded with the Dam Removal Award. So this year it was Hitolanjoki removal from Finland, the case I presented before. And if you want to inspire general public, very soon we are releasing a Dambusters documentary. So the 5 cases from all around Europe, people who started dam removal in their countries and how certain dams came down. So it's if you watch Damnation, this is the US copy to understand that it's not just there, it's here as well. It's happening already, and you can be part of it. So yeah, that would be all for me. I used my time. And if you have any questions, either now or during the coffee break or tomorrow, whenever, just come to me and we'll talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is this microphone on? Yes, good. We have time until the coffee break for some questions. Anybody in the room that has questions? Yes, over there.
Thank you for a very nice presentation. I have a question about how the work was planned out with the municipalities, landowners. How was this done?
So I will answer on theoretical level because every case is different. So we've seen top-down approaches where municipality, or even on a national level, like in case of Saloon, state decides some certain infrastructure goes down, or you can go bottom up to there is a let's say an angler who has a weir that is really blocking his river and he wants to take it out. So you have like both options. And then if there's no established process, which is often the case in the countries where dam removal is not happening yet, it's really about figuring out the process. I mean, it's a learning process, so for the authorities and the municipalities. My biggest advice would be the early communication, to really make sure that everyone understands the benefits and what's going to happen exactly, because otherwise, we understand this infrastructure as something that is saving us from something, from floods, from high water. So you really need to answer all the questions. So the communication is the key. And bottom up or top down, that's not important, not really. So communication, and once again, communication. And regarding the procedures, those need to be figured out. And frankly, very often at the beginning, it makes more time to make all the studies for the dam to take it out. It's like more paperwork to take them out and to bring new one in, because we all need to make sure that removing certain infrastructure poses no new threat. So yeah.
Okay, any more questions in the room? I think we have some on Slido. Andreas?
Yes.
You need the microphone.
Use the microphone. We have a question from Katja Hjertas watching the stream. Where does the waste from dam removal go, and how much impact on nature does the work apply? Are there any thoughts or plans on recirculating it?
Yeah, so the sediment is always a threat. It needs to be checked whether it's polluted or not. So you cannot just release it and kill all the biota downstream. No, of course not. So in case of Selune, they really needed to dig out the sediment that was polluted and decompose it elsewhere. So it was needed to go out. But in some cases, for example, in Spain, if the sediment is not a problem, they have now this approach when, you know, in the past they used to make €100,000 big project, really removing all the infrastructure out, make a renaturation and so on. But now they have a different approach, a different strategy. They just, every year, they lower a dam or a weir for ½ meter, 1 meter, and then the sediment slowly flows down. So that's another option. So it's less maintenance, it's much cheaper. And if the sediment is not polluted, that is an option. But when it's not, it needs to be taken out to the depot, and otherwise you create a big problem.
Any more?
No more questions here, but I see there is interest in the Finnish calculator.
Yeah, I will provide the link. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You briefly mentioned in the beginning, I think, other kinds of barriers as well, that you're also working on that, like culverts and stuff, but you don't talk about that so much. And
True. But if you have interest in culverts, we had a webinar exactly on this topic, on how to remove or make a river-friendly culvert in January, and it's on our YouTube channel. You can watch it with the expert from US, really how to so instead of having a culvert round and hanging in the air, how to make it like a small bridge underneath, really the fish, and not just the fish, all the wildlife can go up. Yeah. But you know, I mean, culverts are kind of boring in a way, huh? We needed to call them road dams to get more attraction to them. Yeah, but no, there are strategies. There are, I mean, you have experts just on culverts, and really, if you have interest in that, the webinar is 3-hour webinar is on a YouTube on Dam Removal Europe site. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You will also be getting the bag from the Norwegian Water Association.
Thank you.
And do you know what this is?
No.
No, this is for bringing when you go outdoor, like in the forest or in the mountains, to sit on.
Thank you very much.
Pure wool from the Environment Agency.
Thank you.
Then we have one tradition for keynote speakers who travel from abroad to give us presentations. We give you a book just to make sure you want to come back to Norway to see the sites. So
absolutely. Thank you very much.